All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Strafe Talk with your host, Ic3-Man and Anthobot. And Antho, it has been a little bit too long between episodes, but the last one we released was before the major, and now we're releasing one after the major. And normally we like to release episodes, as the stuff is happening, colognes and pro leagues and things like that. But before we get to the end of the major and wrapping it all up, I haven't talked to you in a while. I haven't even played with you much. Like, how's life up in Canada? Is it getting hot up there?
Doing, yeah, it's getting very hot up here. We're definitely getting a piece of that East Coast kind of heat wave, or more than a piece, I would say. Yeah, it's just been very, very kind of hot up in the hundreds for the American audience.
I was gonna say, is that
Um,
100? I hope
like,
that's 100 Fahrenheit.
yeah, Fahrenheit for sure, for sure. Like 30, 35, 40. I think my grandmother was telling me today that um, like it said 45 like the other day, like so it's just crazy how kind of hot it's been getting.
Right.
I've been recovering from my broken collarbone. There's that. Kind of in the process of doing that. I have a third of my strength back, so that's kind of cool. So
Oh
we're
yeah, I
kind of
forgot
working towards that.
forgot
I've
you
been going
broke your
to
collarbone.
physiotherapy. Yeah, I didn't forget. But no, I've been going
I'm happy.
to physical therapy for it. So it's been kind of a slow process, been kind of a boring process, but yeah, we're here and yeah.
Awesome,
What's new
awesome.
with you? You went to you took a trip to Austin, didn't you?
I did take a trip to Austin, and before I get to that, I'm gonna say I am sorry that the Canadiens did not win the Stanley Cup. So I am sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
That's okay.
I'm
Next year,
just
next year.
we're gonna blame it on the refs, right? We're gonna blame it on the refs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
ignore the fact that the team that won has more Canadians than Americans on it, but other than that, yeah, no
I
Canadian
mean,
team.
the fact that the team that won is about as far south in the United States as possible, almost close to the equator, just blows my mind that they win a hockey trophy. But it's fine.
That's true. Actually, just on like another note, I believe last year because that was a it was a repeated final. So last year they played the same teams played, and I'm pretty sure it was like one of the, if not the like furthest distance from like two NHL teams in a like final
That's
like
great.
ever.
Like distance
Because like
wise,
because
yeah.
of where Edmonton is, right? Like Alberta's way like West Coast Canada, right? And then like you
Right.
said, Florida's way east, right?
They're
So
literally catty corner. Like, yeah, it's almost like you're touching Alaska. That's crazy. I didn't even think about the distance. Yeah.
yeah, so it's crazy, but like I said, we'll get them next time. Go Leafs, go, and that's all I
Go
have to
go
say
go
with that.
Leafs. Yes, third time's a charm. So, but
Yeah.
yes, I did make a trip to Austin. I did go to the major, and I gotta say that was so I have been I mentioned this before. I've been to Counter Strike events. I have been to IM Dallas. I have been to Atlanta. DreamHack Atlanta, and it's a challenger league, but there's still people there. And I recently went to Las Vegas, the Level Up Expo, to watch Fragadelphia. But even if I take all the spectators and put them into one place, like, it still doesn't match the amount of people that were in this place. And the fact that we were able to pack a whole basketball arena full of people to watch a bunch of kids play a video game was absolutely amazing. Just, we all came together. We didn't care about what was happening in the world. We cared about what was happening right in front of us on the screen, playing the video game that we've all come to love. And it really made me appreciate the fact that, like, there's a I yeah, the online community can be a little toxic sometimes, but overall, like, we were there for the same purpose, the same cause. We were cheering for the same teams, even though we were all saying, "F you, Apex." Like, in the end, we still gave him the respect, and we still cheered him on for winning the trophy and lifting it up for the third time. And I can't say, it doesn't matter how much the crowd was for or against him. He still managed to win. So, like, that like, just being around people that love the game as much as I do and you do, then it made the trip all the more worthwhile. So, um, Budapest, maybe you can go to Budapest. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I would like to give a like a shout out to the American crowd because I do appreciate the fact that that yes, they had a favorite team going into playoffs in phase, right? Like with the the
Well,
Elige
yeah.
storyline, Simple coming back. So like once they got eliminated, like I'm really glad that the stadium didn't seem like it got quieter throughout the rest of the playoffs. I know that that can happen. I think it happened like for example. I think back to Rio. I think when Furia made playoffs and Furia crashed out of playoffs, and then the arena pretty much got like dead quiet for the rest of the playoffs. So kind of really commend the American crowd for that. And I think the American crowd's, pretty good for that. And I don't know if it's, just because people are nice about it or if it's just because, we have a weaker scene here and we, appreciate other teams and other regions that are on the weaker side. I don't know what it is, but definitely like keep it up because it was good. The fun like you said, FU Apex banters were really fun, but everybody kind of had a really good understanding that it was a meme, right? And like you said, you guys gave the respect to people. I really loved and we caught it. The broadcast caught it perfectly, and I think you asked me if it got caught on broadcast, but like them switching POVs to Apex and the crowd going boo, and then they switch to like Flamesy. Everybody's like,
I
yeah,
was wondering if
like
you could hear that on the broadcast because I can't tell you how many times we did that. Where it's like if it was on him when he was calling something, and we're all like boo, and then it would go to like I don't know Torji or something, and they're like yay, and then it would go back to Apex boo, and I'm like it was so much fun like just doing that. And while I was there as well, I actually had the opportunity to meet, I don't want to stay on this topic forever, but I did get a chance to not only meet other, players and other people, but like I happened to run across Elige, and we took a photo with him, and we were trying to let him be a person, but for about 5 minutes, he let us ask him questions and whatnot, and we're like, dude, that 1v2 on Anubis, you're clutch. Like, he's like, yeah, as soon as I saw where the flash was coming in from, he knew exactly like how to draw out the B main player and immediately turn to the CT player. Like, he knew exactly what to do in that like zero point 0.2 seconds because of where the flash came from with that information. But it was fun to talk to him. But I asked him, I was like, when we were cheering for you, I was like, I know we have noise canceling headphones, but can you hear us? He's like, oh God, like the whole time. And it was just crazy because like, yeah, like it doesn't matter how much noise is coming out, you can't stop vibrations, right? Or even all the noise. And it was crazy because like I love the fact that he's like he can hear us like trying to like will him into winning, right? Even though they didn't win. um but that was fun. I got to hang out with the some of the pain guys. um I even got to have like a 5, 10, 15 minute long conversation with Moses, like, and take a shot with them. That's a memory I'll never forget as well. So it was like the whole experience was great, and like you said, the like Phase lost. All right, who's the next person we're gonna cheer for? And then like I think it was Mouse. We were cheering for Mouse, and then they lost, and then we were cheering for the Mongolz, and it's like they lost, and it's like we were trying to cheer for anybody but Vitality. It was great, dude.
it was, but like I said, it's just great how even though Mongols ended up beating FaZe, like Mongols ended up being kind of the favorite coming out of that game. So yeah, commiserations to the NA crowd. I also like the fact that there seemed to be not really a lot of like crowd cheating, which is really good. I think like if we can definitely get away from that like entirely, then that'd be great, right? Like the whole whoa, whoa, right?
Okay,
So
we did
um
try. I will say we tried to do it, but like we couldn't get the whole crowd to do it because there were moments where it was happening, but like we could. It's like you could get like a section to do it, but we couldn't ever get the whole crowd to do it. So like I will give you credit there where it's like we didn't do a lot of it or we didn't do much of it at all, but from sitting in the crowd we did try to do it though. I will say that.
Oh, nice. So you just ratted yourself
I
out. Got it.
ratted myself out, yes, but we did try to leave the integrity of the game to like as much as possible to letting them play. And I can appreciate that from what everybody's doing. Like we'll sit there and I could hear a random person being like, let's go Mongols, and then like 2 seconds later, everybody's saying, let's go Mongols, and like, you know, it was great because both of the finalists were the Mongols and the Vitality, and I'm like, I win no matter what. Like I'm happy. Um, yes, my coin was saved because Vitality won, but like if the Mongols won, I was still happy because I'm a huge Mongols fan. I love them. I've always been a Mongols fan ever since like last summer.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we could talk about it a little bit later, but I imagine the atmosphere like after map one of the grand final is crazy in there, right? Like
Oh
Mongols pick
God,
up the
yes.
win, like everybody's like hyped like
Oh, dude, the
crazy, right?
hype
So
was crazy. Like we were. I mean, yeah, the next two maps they came back and won, but I'm telling you, dude, like everybody in the arena wanted the Mongols to win, and it wasn't necessarily to like knock off Vitality, but like, dude, an Asian team winning a major. I mean, that's unheard of. That's never happened. Like, yeah, we've had some South Americans, but like we've never had an Asian team be this good, and we all know that the Mongols are good. They just need more time on stage, and after having several visits to the stage, they seemed like they were actually like all that work that they put in to get to the other stages or even playoff, like even if it quarterfinals, like paid off here because they obviously were able to like work their way in, like again beating a phase and beating fear, pain or whatever, and then getting like, and I'm not saying that any whether they face fury or whether they face pain, it's irrelevant. Like they still had to face those teams, but they are a good team and we just need to give them the credit. But again, we can talk about that later. But before we get on that topic, I do have a fun little thing because again, I said in the beginning of the episode, we haven't done any like stage one or stage two or talked about the coins or anything like that. We've missed a lot between life and everything. I have decided to create a color wheel, and whatever it lands on, the color wheel of fate is going to tell us who we're going to talk about. And the only team that I'm probably going to be like, I'll respin for is Vitality because we're going to leave that one for last and we're going to enjoy them as much as we can. But anybody else that's on here, if it lands on them, that's what we're going to talk about. Matisse Sports, Falcons, Complexity, Mouz, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about them. So we'll just spin this a few times and I'm going to shuffle it up. How many times do you want me to shuffle the list up?
uh 4 times.
All right. One, two, three, four shuffles. All right. And we're going to spin the wheel, folks. And let's see what it lands on. And you could probably hear that in the whatever.
Oh no, yeah. Ha!
That's funny. All
Nice.
right.
Well, we got this in practice, so that's cool.
All right. So, for everybody that can't see this, it has landed on Mouse. So that is who we're going to be discussing first. So I'll let you start, and then I'll just kind of chime in wherever you go. So Mouse's run obviously started in stage three, and they definitely had to do a lot of grinding to come back. So a lot of 2-1s there, Antho.
For sure, yeah, yeah. Mouse had a crazy kind of difficult run to manage. I mean, going down 0-2, like almost suffering the same fate as Falcons. Very kind of scary for them. I bet you they're glad that it didn't happen, right? Like playing, and they played like pretty hard teams to kind of dig themselves out of the hole, right? Like they played a Liquid that looked, I mean, decently promising. I know they ended up crashing out 0-3, but they're not really an easy team to put away. And Aurora also not an easy team to put away. We kind of expected Aurora to be in the playoffs as well. So and then kind of putting the legacy bear to sleep. So their run to playoffs itself was kind of crazy. It depends on what way you want to look at it. Also, if you want to look at it from a standpoint of okay, well they're super resilient. They came back from 0-2, then that's a really positive way to look at it. The negative way to look at it would be like, oh well, they were kind of 0-2 at the start. They were looking shaky in stage three. This isn't the Mouse that we're used to. Well,
Right.
I I'd like to find like kind of a middle ground of that. I don't think they played like super terrible. I mean, like it goes back to I guess the conversation of best of ones, and how kind of interesting they are when or like I maybe it might not even be the best of ones themselves, but just the fact that teams aren't conditioned to play best of ones anymore. I think that has to be said as well. Just the fact that everything's best of three. So them dropping a couple best of ones. It's good that they, had the resilience to come back like from 0-2 to 2-3. And then playoff run, they beat Spirit in probably you could probably agree with me, probably one of the best like matches in the playoffs.
Yeah, the
Probably
very
like
first
like
match, the first day, the first match, the first map, Quad OT. Golly.
yeah. So that was very kind of interesting to watch, and then to see Mouz kind of claw their way back from that series, like you said, quad OT, Spirit pick up map one, and then Mouz, do the reverse sweep to pick up the series. Like that's pretty much that symbolizes kind of what Mouz has been doing the whole tournament, right? Like kind of on the back foot, trying to recover, and that's kind of that's where they found themselves with Vitality as well. But it was just I think the Vitality task for them was too tall again. Um, I don't really know what they can do different against Vitality because this is like I don't I don't know how many matches they've played against Mouz. Yeah, so they played 30 maps against Vitality and they've only won 8 of them. So
Golly.
in the last whatever, they're like this is head to heads. This goes
Right.
all the way back to like 24 and stuff, but um yeah, so overall I'd say like a decent run from Mouse. They're kind of in an awkward spot for me because it's not necessarily a team like I there's a lot of teams that I can say yes, you're making changes. Like Navi is in a spiral. They're most likely making changes. We saw rumors about Spirit making changes. There's these teams that we know that should make changes, and then there's Mouse. Like I don't know if they should make changes, if they should try to keep this formula going. I know that individually a lot of their players kind of like failed to step up, and this goes back to the conversation we had before about how there's not really a definitive star player on Mouse. Like even
Right.
I guess with Spinks being brought in, it's a little bit closer to him being the star player, but he didn't show that necessarily that consistency. So yeah, I don't know if they should make a change, but maybe freshen something up, maybe move somebody up, move somebody down. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm gonna show you a screenshot because like this kind of shows exactly like what we were talking about, but like there it truly is no star player on the team. Everybody is literally rated around the same point. I mean, three of the players are exactly the same rating, 1.12. Like nobody's stepping up. So like my thing for Mouse would be I'm okay with the team. They seem like they have a lot of good cohesion. It seems like Spinks is in a good place compared to where he was at when he was on Vitality. And was it Vitality, right? Yeah. Um, and so I my thing is with Mouse is all right, you have all the pieces and now on this off season instead of like trying to make a change, like stick with what you have here. But it's like try to figure out and not even go so far in to say, hey, let's work on the roles or let's work on executes. Just be like, all right, let's work on mentally, like how can we be better people? How can we be better for each other or for morale or like not even go back to the base, like not even foundational wise, because clearly you guys have earned yourself the number 2 spot in the world as far as team, like for the team wise and rank wise. But like maybe look internally and say, let's go take a vacation, let's go do some morale boosting, let's go work on, mental health and try to get a mental health coach and think better about ourselves because we are good enough to be here. We are good enough to lift that trophy. We almost could touch it, right? And so like that would be my suggestion to Mouse would be like would be just focus internally maybe and work internally on yourselves. Because I was going to ask you the question, Antho, and that is like, you know, it's clear as day at this moment of recording that Vitality are the number 1 team in the world. But the question is, right now Mouse are number 2, and if we look at the ranks of like the teams, if I just do like VRS perspective, and I'm looking at Mouse, Spirit, Mongolz, Falcons, Aurora, Phase, things like that, like is Mouse deserving of the number 1 second place spot, like the number 1 second best team? Or can we put that on a Spirit, or can we put that on a Mouse and or a Mongolz? So that's my question to you: is does Mouse deserve the spot that they're in right now?
I think up until now, I think they do. I mean, the game against Spirit kind of showed that they're better than Spirit, and I still think that these like 4 teams are above like a lot of other teams. Maybe not Mongols yet because we haven't had a follow up event from Mongols to determine that. But going into the major, it was like Vitality, Mouz, Spirit on top, and then all the rest of the teams kind of down. So like Mouz beating Spirit kind of shows me that they're a step ahead of Spirit. I would have to kind of see like a Mouz Mongolz matchup, which would be interesting. I don't know if we've seen that head to head in a while, if not at all. Um, I'm actually unsure, but
I
yeah,
want
I
to
think
say
they're
yes, but
they're
I
des-
don't know.
I think they're deserving. They're deserving of it, but also it's a tough question to ask because it's not going to matter after a lot of teams make changes because everything's going to be in such disarray that we're not even going to know.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just have to see when the next season comes around because there's moments where we're like, oh my God, Mal should win. And then they just flop out like 16-13. You're like, all right, well, that was great. And then they make deep runs like this. So, yes, like, again, we'll just have to see where it goes. But, we'll put that question off to the side for later. But for now, we've talked about Mouse enough. Let's spin the wheel again and let's see who we land on. So, here we go. Yes. Oh, wait. Damn.
Oh, it went past.
I was like, "Yay, NRG!" And then it just finally finished on Spirit. All right, so we just it's funny. The Wheel of Fate is letting us talk about the decent teams, I guess. So, Spirit, their run, again, another team that was in the stage 3, but they had I guess you could almost go with like an easy run. They had Pain to start with, which again, Pain made the playoffs. So I'm not saying anything bad about Pain, but Pain made the playoffs. They played against Lin Vision, who the crowd was kind of pulling for. I mean, they beat Falcons and Tyloo and Bait to get into stage 3. So I mean, Lin Vision, they definitely had their hands full when it came to trying to make the playoffs, but we were at least pulling for them. I know the crowd was. And then a Navi who right now I feel like is struggling. So they went 3-0 and then got basically set aside by Mouz. But I don't know, Spirit, like, there's not much to say about Spirit, like, because of their short run, if you want to call it that. They probably had one of the shorter runs if you really look at their perspective.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Going 3-0 and then losing first. That's what, 4 matches. It's two best of ones, two best of three. So definitely kind of a short stay for them. Um, there are yeah. So just talking about their run in general. Yeah, the beating Pain, beating Lin Vision best of one is fine. Yep, beating a kind of a broken and bruised Navi also is cool, but not being able to perform on stage is really interesting to me when it comes to them. I mean, yeah, especially like after like when you flip the narrative and you look at the fact that they did win the first map, and it was a close map, it was a close affair, but kind of letting it slip with Mouz is definitely a mistake that they'll be looking back on, especially knowing that they're like defending champs, right? Or they were defending
They
champs
were
trying to
defending
defend
champs,
their
yeah.
yeah. So there's not a lot to kind of say about them. I will say that within the like 4 or 5 days after the major concluded, there was sources saying that they're looking to sign Zway from Namiga. So that should make kind of things interesting. I would think that that's going to spice something up because it kind of seems like to me Spirit are in this spot where some teams get, not all teams, but some teams get where they kind of win so much and then they're like they I don't know, I don't want to say they lose motivation to win, but it's just not all, they're not all there anymore, or
Right.
maybe there is like a lack of motivation, or maybe there's a lack of practice, whatever, right? So I think definitely bringing some new kind of blood into Spirit is going to be good for it, especially if they can get um, like Donk on kind of teaching him like how to play. I will say that I hope that they don't add him and um kind of like add him just like I hope they add him for firepower. I hope they don't add him just to play around Donk, right? Like, because that was kind of Spirit's whole like motto, just all other 4 players throw, but let Donk do his thing, right? So I hope
Right.
that doesn't happen when they pick somebody else up. I hope they kind of change their style. I think they have to change their style, change how they play, but yeah, I like Donk was crazy. I think Donk was one of the higher rated players in the tournament. Um, but yeah, just a short kind of stay for them.
So I was looking at something, and I wanna show you this. This is just the past 3 months, right? Um, so you could probably guess who the highest rated player in the last 3 months is. He's on the team that we're talking about, and it's Mr. Donk, right? But I'm going to
Right.
show you this. Look at some random person in the top, whatever this is, 15, 20 that I clipped. Who do you see in there that's just like, huh, okay, that's interesting.
Oh, weird. Grimm's there.
Yeah, number
Interesting.
3, Grim. This is the last 3 months, right? But like, I'm like, wait, why is Grim in there? And I mean, I can't even remember what tournament he did well in. But then I'm like, wait, Halzerk is right there next to him. I was like, what's happened in the last 3 months that's created this? It's crazy. But I thought it was kind of funny that Grim is number 3 right now the last 3 months as far as rating wise. But like Donk clearly has the lead. Like he has 10 points over Zaiwu, and he got knocked
Yeah.
out way before Zaiwu did. So it's like yes, you have the star player, but it's like is Wei going to be the answer to the team? Um, but if nothing else, like, and it's no shade on Magisk, but like Magisk has got to go.
Yeah. I think he is going. I don't like because that's the other debate, right? Like whether Zoe's coming in for like Magix or whether he's coming in for Zontix. Um, I would probably also go kind of towards Magix, but because Zontix, like even in the like Zontix had a couple clutches, right? In that Mirage game,
Yeah,
I
he
feel
did.
like.
Like, yeah, we were looking at Zontix a lot, right? And I
Yeah.
was I was loving the fact that Zontix was online, because that's one of those players that kind of came in from the academy that we feel like kind of got shadowed by Donk, right? And he didn't really get the exposure. He didn't get, I don't know, the same, like he joined the team the same time Donk did, and so it's like, but he hasn't risen to that occasion. But like Donk is just Donk. Like, I'm sorry, like you I can't crap on the dude for too much longer because he's just proving it over and over and over again. He's just good. Like the kid is just good. So the question is, do you find somebody to help Donk, or do you find someone to help carry the load so he doesn't have to do so much?
Yeah, it's just a really weird spot because even if you look back to like older teams that this happened, like right, like I look back to like 2019, 2020 Vitality and like around when like Saiwu was like carrying the hell out of Vitality. You can't even compare that to this because Saiwu didn't really have another star player with him. Um but like it's really weird because you'd expect somebody like Shiro to step up like kind of
And there's
massively
times
in
where
this
Shiro
and he just didn't.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is times where he does, but I think a lot of times it's only those two, and I think that's kind of an issue that they need to figure out because I believe I think they're the top of their scoreboards are just really like heavy, like just heavily weighted
Yeah.
in my opinion. But yeah, I don't like I said, I think them bringing somebody else new in, like hopefully that'll get Chopper, cooking again in the server in the practice server, getting some new strats in, some fresh strats. I hope that, makes them, competitive again because like you said, Donk is Donk, right? Like he's crazy, he's the best rifler we've seen probably ever or at least in a while.
I would
So yeah.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and kind of do what's shifting in the CS world right now, and almost like say, hey, we would rather have a rifler that has been reduced down a little bit in his rating, but can still frag in IGL, and find someone to maybe replace Chopper. Like, I, I just I just feel like somebody needs to make impact. Either Magix needs to step his game up, or Chopper needs to do more. But like we're seeing a lot of these changes, like Mouz changing it to Brolin, and Liquid try to do it with Twist and some other things, like or figure out what the hell Blitz is doing, because like Blitz on the Mongols, he frags, he calls, but he frags. Like there's gotta I just don't know if the days like you not everybody can be like Vitality and have an Apex not necessarily have a good game and everybody still step up, right? But like you said, it's taken 5 years for Vitality to get to this point though. So I mean, I guess I can't shit on Spirit for too long. So I don't know. I don't want to sit there and be that person, but like that's kind of where my brain's at.
Yeah, I would say, and like this is more on the side of a hot take rather than anything. But like in my opinion, I think that this is just like it might be too early to say this, but it might be like the like Chopper's kind of last chance to see if he can do something with a roster or with not with a roster for like permanently, but with this kind of iteration and this roster before he makes changes. Because I think if something goes south with the addition of Zwei, then I think that they'll probably shift towards an IGL change, which would definitely freshen up everything. But it's kind of Chopper's last chance in my opinion. But and I don't know how likely that's going to be. But if they bring on like a new player, like who else is there left to change? Like I guess we talk about like Zontix, but is Zontix going to be the only problem in the team, or is the calling going to be an issue? And yeah, I do like how you brought that up, like the whole fragging situation. I think that's a big problem with like a team like Navi right now, like Alexi B like struggling to have like frag output, and then you have like you said, Vitality Apex is doing like decent in the fragging department, and then their thing, like you said, is if he's not fragging out, then the rest of their team, the rest of Vitality can kind of elevate their game to compensate for it. So, yeah, I think it's a combination between all factors, and I think we'll have to see how this Zwei story like moves along. But definitely interesting to see Spirit change because, as you obviously remember and know, Spirit hasn't had a change in a long time because they won the major last year. So
Right, exactly. And like I was looking at the stats right quick, and Chopper's sitting at a even 1.00 rating. Apex is at a 101. He's not that much better. And I go look at Alexi B, he's at a 0.94. Like he's clearly the dead weight of the Navi team. And it's just again, what's the right formula? It's hard to say that, but I mean, I kind of like how you put it. Maybe this is Chopper's last run. Maybe this is his chance to pick it back up. And what's funny is I go look at Blitz over the Mongolz. He has a better rating than Techno right now. Techno's been kind of slipping, but I don't think they're making a change. But Blitz has a 111 rating, dude. 1.11 rating. Like that's a hella good IGL to have on your team, man. Like like I would
oh,
love
for
to
sure,
have
yeah.
an IGL that has a 111 rating, man.
Well, exactly right. So, oh, yeah. So I mean, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see kind of how it goes, and yeah, the Spirit days are over. It's just crazy for me to say like, uh, because I do think that it is Chopper's last chance, but also it feels kind of crazy for me to say that, like having knowing they won the major like 6 7 months ago. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see kind of how it goes.
Well, it's funny because like we have them winning the last major, not counting Austin, and then we also have Navi being team of the year, and neither one of the teams are relevant right now. It's crazy. I mean, they're relevant, but they're not.
Yeah. So who
So
knows? Maybe next year Vitality will not be relevant.
that's
I hope
fair.
not, but
That's fair. That's the way the trend is going. So let's spin the wheel. Let's see who our next team we're going to talk about is. Give me a team from like stage one. I don't know. Give me something.
I guess it's all playoff teams.
No way.
Oh no. Okay, it's not.
I
This
mean,
is a talkable team.
this is a talkable team. So for those of y'all that can't see it, it landed on Legacy. Which is a fun topic because because it's funny because my wife was actually pulling for them. She actually had them going through 3-1, 3-2. So it's kind of a funny topic there. So Legacy, which I mean honestly, they weren't even supposed to be here, right?
True, yeah. I forgot about that actually. Even though it was said multiple times on the broadcast. Yeah, they weren't supposed to be here. So the whole Bestia situation was a little bit scuffed. Still don't really know whose deal it was, whose problem it was. I think it was more on Bestia's side for not getting visas in time, but I'm not sure about the whole situation. However, that opened the door for a legacy team to kind of prove their worth, and I think this legacy team is interesting to talk about because they like when you look at them like at a face value, it's just a really strange like Brazilian mix from players that basically got poached from their teams. Like players that were honestly decent. Like um Lux isn't a bad player. I think he just had a really bad Shanghai.
Yeah.
Um like which warranted him getting kicked off of Pain. And like Dumao has been kind of around trying to prove himself. Actually, Dumao Lotto, that duo, I think has have been together for a while. So
Yeah.
and then bringing on like Nissim as well. I'm pretty sure is this, the same deal. Actually, possibly off of Pain as well.
Uh,
Um,
he was
like
Pain
kind
and
of getting
Shark. He's been going
poached.
between Pain and Sharks.
Yeah, okay. So and then Sadson is kind of like the new rookie that we haven't seen kind of around. So yeah, so starting with that, like yeah, we didn't expect like a lot from them. A lot of people, oh well, they're just gonna go 0-3. They're not supposed to be here, whatever. Like they're just gonna crash it at stage one. We're not gonna talk about them again. We're not gonna get stickers in Austin, but we have their borderless stickers in Shanghai, so cool, whatever. They're not gonna be relevant anyway. See you later. And then they did what they did, which is which is crazy, right? Like so they lose their opening matchup against like Lin Vision, get revenge on Chinggis Warriors, and then lose to Bet Boom, and then all from there it was just like full confidence. So
Oh
like
yeah.
beating Imperial in a regional battle, like regional Brazilian battle, that's not easy to do. Beating wildcard 2-0 also not easy to do. Like a wild card that looked pretty strong coming into the major, and then just like the crazy amount of runs that they were able to do. They were able to carry that momentum into stage two, go 3-0 in stage two. I
Yeah.
remember, I believe I picked them to go 0-3 in every stage, which is what a lot of people probably did as well. Like, oh, they're not gonna stop here. They're not gonna stop here. So they ended up kind of proving all of us wrong. F your pick'ems
I mean,
situation. But,
that's the general motto of this major was F your pick'ems. Yes.
yeah, essentially, right. So and I think it really like everybody really started to look at them when they beat FaZe, like picking up, actually going 3-0 in stage two against, a lot of I would say like pretty big name teams like going into it, right? Like stage two was a really big like mess up. And it's really funny looking back now because if you ignore the teams that went through and you went to go do your pick'ems again, you'd expect a team like Falcons to make it through. You'd expect a team like Heroic to make it through. You'd expect, a team like MIBR to squeak through. Bait is a team that could squeak through as well. So um yeah, they were able to kind of 3-0 that group and then, carry their momentum into shattering Vitality's win streak. However,
That was
I I don't believe in that. I'm still personally, and I can get made fun of all I want. I don't care. I'm still a believer of Vitality streak is still alive, and that was just the best of one. Like I don't care. Like Vitality's best of three streak is still alive.
Well, I mean, because they're
So
even though their streak is alive in best of threes, they have lost maps. So like I can make the argument with you the fact that their streak is still technically alive, but the fact that this is the only time we're gonna get best of ones, it's really annoying. So I'm with you on that one. I will join you in that conversation.
yeah, it's very annoying, but like as a Vitality fan, people are just gonna look at me and say, "Oh, you're just upset that they lost their streak," and you just well, like whatever. Like it's a best of one, anyways. That out of the way. They did have a crazy run, and they almost made it to playoffs. Like to be fair, like they had a good swing at a Mouz team that we had just talked about. That were kind of like slow coming into the major.
Oh yeah, they won the first
Um,
map. Like they had to get reverse swept, and then almost won
yeah,
the second
so
map.
exactly. So they had a crazy run, crazy miraculous run. I think this is probably the best run, the best underdog run we've seen in a while. Like there's some bias probably in like, stuff that's happened 2019, 2018. However, you also have to think through the context of there weren't this many teams and there weren't this many stages. So they were able to, win against a variety of different teams from a variety of different regions and then still progress through the event. So hats off to Legacy. I wasn't a big fan of um Dumao screaming. I'm not gonna lie,
That
but
happened a lot, yes.
but it happened a lot. However, with that being said, I'm found now playing like Premier on Counter Strike and then winning around, and I'm like, yeah, vamos carajo! Like I'm just like I'm in the zone now. Like that's my new go-to kind of phrase. So he did kind of push that on me. So shout out to him. And I mean, he had a really good event, and I think a lot of kind of eyes were on this legacy team. Um, yeah, so we'll kind of see how they can follow this up. I hope they can, follow it up with some good events because you never really like to see a team like peak at the major and then that's it, and then they fall off and you never see them again. So we'll see if they can compete in um, these North American tournaments because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Legacy is usually grouped up in a lot of North American tournaments because they're based in North America, are they?
I mean, they are, but we
Or
don't
do you?
typically see them come in. Like one of the teams we like to see is like Sharks coming in and stuff like that. But like as far as North American tournaments, they don't typically come and hang out with us. They do like to stay in South America, even though technically, like according to Wikipedia, they're like North American, and I'm like, well, okay. So I don't know how they get qualified as that. I really don't. I truly, I just think it's a typo. But yes, like I mean, we cough cough to ITB. It just you hate to see teams like this just all of a sudden, you like because right now I think in VRS they're like 17th or 18th or something, 16th,
Yeah.
22nd. I don't know. Anyways, like they're ranked decently high in VRS, so it's like okay, you're gonna get invited to these tournaments, you're gonna get spots. So now what are you gonna do with it? And are you gonna become the are you going to stay the tier 2 team that everybody thinks you are, or are you going to hop into that 1.5 category? And so yes, you just that's probably my only thing is all right, are you hyping yourself up too much or putting too much pressure, or are you just going to have fun to play the game like you did at the major? So that's what we have. That's what I'm curious to see when season 2 comes around.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll have to definitely kind of track them, see if they get any invites or when they get any invites, and we'll have to see kind of how they do. I know the event before, and the reason why I thought that they weren't going to beat Vitality was because they played, I think, at Dallas or something
Yeah,
against
they got
Vitality, and Vitality beat 13-3, 13-3 or something like that.
13-5,
Um,
13-11. Yeah.
okay, 13, okay, 35, 13, 11. So, um, yeah, so it was kind of a quick 2-0 for that. So we'll like I said, we'll see.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
basically, the two teams they lost to in Dallas were 3D Max and Vitality, and they got their revenge on both of them.
there you go.
Technically, they were in best of ones, but they did get revenge on both of the teams they lost to in Dallas. So, they probably had a little chip on their shoulder. But I mean, before I move on to the next team, like the teams they lost to Bet Boom and Lin Vision in stage one. They beat Chinggis Warriors, Imperial, and Wildcard. And then moving on from there, it's like they went 3-0, but then they lost to VP and Phase, but they beat Lin Vision, Vitality, and barely lost to Mouz. Like, there's a lot of wins that they can put on their resume to say we beat teams we shouldn't have beat. We lost teams we probably shouldn't have lost to, and they can take a lot of good from that. So I'm just gonna leave them with I'm gonna leave Legacy with that, and that they did well. I gotta say they have to be patting themselves on the shoulder for that one.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So
All right,
we'll
so
we'll
next
see if the
team.
experience goes a long way.
There you go. All right, so
Next, Timo.
let's spin the wheel of fate. Let's see who we're gonna go to next. Give me a MIDI.
Let us park. No.
Heroic. Almost got ourselves some
Also,
Metasport.
honestly, Heroic's also a dockable team.
This is gonna be fun. All right, so Heroic, and that was they had an interesting run. I will give them credit for that. They had an interesting run.
Interesting run for sure. So stage one, going to stage one, 3-0, quick 3-0.
Yeah, it
See you
was a
later.
quick. I mean, it's a
Bada
quick
boom,
3
bada
0. I
bing.
mean, Chinggis Warriors, NRG, FlyQuest. I mean, they didn't really have. Okay, stage one didn't have a lot of like good quote unquote teams. So like picking Heroic to go through in 3-0 should have been something they should have done, right? Um, but then stage two, they kind of let us down a little bit, right?
Yeah, stage two definitely dropped the ball. I would say like best of one against Faye understandable, especially since like Kerrigan, like that was a grudge match for Kerrigan. He you know took exception to them like shit talking them like the event before. Um and like he probably prepped the hell out of that match. So that's okay. Losing to Bait, I think, also is pretty understandable when you consider A, it's a best of one, and B, like I think Bait and Heroic are pretty much in the same boat when it comes to where they're at in the scene, like skill wise and
Yeah.
like event wise. But I think that the one kind of highlight is the Lost in Namiga. And although I could say the same thing about like Namiga in the sense that I think Namiga, Bait, and Heroic are all in the same kind of boat, I think going out 2-0 against Namiga is kind of disappointing from them, from their perspective, because I think like going into the stage, a lot of people had Heroic going through. Especially after convincing 3-0. Now, like looking back, you could see that like the 3-0 that they had in stage one, they didn't beat any teams that made it through to stage two. So there's that to kind of go off of. But
Right.
I think we kind of all expected a little bit more from this heroic squad. Also, just because the fact that we knew with like Sunpius going to G2 and the chance of like Tanier getting poached and stuff like that, we knew that it was kind of a last dance for this roster. We would have kind of liked to see them, make it into stage three, be like a 1-3, stage three team. But it just didn't happen. It's okay, I guess. Like it's not like all of these players on this team are like super notable. That sounded meaner than I wanted it
I
to
mean,
sound, but
I know how that
we're
came
gonna
out,
roll
but
with
it's
it.
like,
We're
you
gonna
know,
roll with it.
Youngster, LNZ, Tanier. It's like these are names we've heard of, but they're not tested, right? Like it's like they've only been on the team for 5 months and they just benched XCloud and Nilo. But they're not tested. They're not, they haven't been put through the fire and it's this heroic is not the Tessus and Shush that we're used to seeing and the nerds and whatnot. Like there's a whole different team we're looking at. And I gotta congratulate him for at least making the major, right? Like, I mean, they at least did that. But when it all comes down to it, it's like sometimes you have to lose to win. I'm not, and that sounds mean, but sometimes you have to lose to be able to like have that. If you're always winning, then you have no reason to play, right? Like you have to lose to have that confidence to win.
For sure, yeah. So, and I don't want to completely discredit them because like they did make it like a good run. Like we saw some promise from, like definitely some promise from Tinier. We saw some promise that shows us, maybe some Pious, can peak again. We were seeing, flashes from, LNZ, like well, just LNZ, like mainly like shit talking, I guess. But like they proved themselves in a sense. So I think it's kind of a win for them and the win for the heroic organization to, like you said, even kind of make it, especially with the history that's the history of heroic in the last 4 years. Um, basically, I don't know. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I basically said that I like heroic reminds me of like modern day Mouse or like modern day mouse sports, like mouse sports before like 2018, 2019 had like frozen rops, whatever, like all these kind of young and
Right.
upcoming talents, and they kept like recycling them, kept like selling them off, picking up new players, selling them off, picking up new players. So I think heroics kind of gotten to that point. I would love to see them kind of find a solid roster that they can run, but if they can keep throwing together rosters like this, I think Saw is a really good coach. Unfortunately, I guess like Saw and Sampaius are going to G2, so Heroic's going to lose that as an organization. So we'll have to see how,
They
um,
rebuild.
like, see how they rebuild, see who they keep also as well, because I am very confused now because they did bench. You said who did they?
Xcloud and Nilo.
Yeah, so Nilo is on the bench already that he didn't play.
Okay.
X Cloud's gone, and Sun Pius is already gone to or going to G2. So that leaves your three. So that it throws me off and it throws a lot of other people in the community off because we kind of expected Heroic to part ways with Tanier or like get some money for Tanier because Tanier showed a lot of promise. But if they get rid of Tanier, then they don't have their core three for VRS points. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how that develops and see if they keep him, if they build around kind of that three core of of like LNZ youngster to near. Maybe bring Nilo back. I don't know if you can bring Nilo back and
And
cheat the
keep your
point
points.
system
Yeah.
and get rid of Tenier. Like maybe keep Nilo, go full Swedish or something like that. Like I don't know, but yeah, I don't like definitely showed a lot of promise, I would say, and I will say I didn't mention XFlow, but I think XFlow had a decent showing at this major. I'm actually quite surprised that he got benched because I don't think he really showed that he needed to be benched, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they benched him on the 15th, and then yeah, officially Subpius or Saul were off on the 17th. But it was like, X Flood being benched. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then I'm looking, even with all the benchings and the people leaving, I'm like, they still have decent VRS points, and I'm like, how is a team like this consistently in like the top 15, the top 20, like, and they're recycling players so often? It's kind of funny. I mean, they're doing something right, but they're only doing something right just enough to keep their points until they figure out how they can create the right formula and put the pieces together to win something. But I don't know. I just anytime I see heroic, I'm like, all I see is Cadian. So like I can't ever see heroic not with Cadian. I'm sorry.
I mean, Cadian is a free agent, so bring him back.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all
fair.
I'm saying.
Or like you
There
said,
you go.
just go
You need
just go full Swedish.
full Swedish also. Let's sign like I don't know. Didn't somebody get benched off of Metasport today? There you go. Sign
Uh
them.
Curious who was it?
Or is Plopsky or Hampus, I think.
Let's see. Let's look at this one.
Or maybe it
Hampus.
wasn't today, it was yesterday, Hampus. There you go. So
Yeah.
but
So
Hampus is IGL, so they already have. We'll see how it goes. Heroic, they always find a way, so we'll see them pick up a couple new players and see if they can run it back.
So good luck. We'll do one more and then we'll close it out with like a few of the playoff teams and have fun. So one more. Let's do. So we got a stage one team, and
Metasport. Metasport. No.
uh,
French CS.
French CS. All right, 3D Max. All right, what is there to say about 3D Max other than yeah?
Yeah, you know what? They kind of. I, I don't know. They kind
Well,
of, honestly, they kind of finished where I thought they would.
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna lie.
that's probably one of the few teams that's like, all right, so you made it to stage three, right? Because you didn't even
Yeah,
have, yeah. So you somehow squeaked into stage three, which again, I'm not saying you didn't earn it, but you squeaked into stage three, and then, but you're not good enough to hang out with the stage three people. Like, I don't even think Liquid was good enough to hang out with the stage three people. Like, those are probably the two teams that I'm like, yeah, you kind of did what I thought you were gonna do, right?
yeah. So, I mean, like, there's some legitimate losses too. I mean, like, 3 of the 4 teams they played made playoffs. So there's that, I guess, if you look at it like that. Um, and they would have, yeah. So, like, I don't know. Like, 3D Max is kind of in a weird spot for me because you kind of also framed it right, like the fact that like they aren't really
Okay,
at the
well,
top of this group, I wouldn't say.
they did start in
So
stage two, so I lied. They did start in stage two.
yeah, they did start stage 2. So
I thought they
they did
started in
go
stage three.
3-1 stage 2.
Yeah,
No, no, okay. So they did start in stage 2, which like I said, this is why I think that they finished pretty like standard for like or like they finished pretty normal for my standards just because I think they're or I know I guess now that they're a good enough team to make it to stage 2. I think the 2-0 against FaZe was really surprising, and it's a shame that they couldn't kind of carry that momentum into stage 3.
yeah.
Um, but um, but I think this is kind of where they're at. They're above kind of these tier 1.5 teams, but they're like I don't want to keep using this analogy, but I think they're tier 1.25. I think that's what I'm saying.
One
They're
point.
like
Okay.
they're enough. They're just enough to beat all of these like CCT teams makes it sound negative, but like CCT teams like Amiga can bait, heroic, like they're good enough to kind of tango with them and beat them, but they can't get past like the gatekeepers um of like of tier 1. So like the gatekeepers we were talking about like Mongolz, Aurora G2 at the moment, like Virtus Pro just at this particular event, I guess. Like Pain, like stuff like that. So that's why I kind of think it's a little bit expected. You know, they did pull off a win against G2, like starting off on a good foot in stage three, but then just couldn't get it done against Navi. You're playing against a French Vitality, which is probably just going to know everything about you, and then you're playing against a hot Brazilian team in Pain as well. So um, I feel their pain, but it is what it is. But 3D Max just completely in an awkward kind of position for me. I don't know, like them changing Dyoko was really interesting to me. I'm quite surprised that that kind of came through. Um, Especially like now I've been doing like a few stats um for majors, and I saw that Dyoko actually didn't have that bad of stats, so I was quite curious that they ended up benching him for body. I'm wondering if they kind of regret that or if they kind of elevated their game. I think quite funnily enough they um kind of stayed the same, like in that sense. Like I don't think they got really any better since they signed body, and I don't think they've really gotten any worse since they signed body as well. So kind of in the middle of the pack team. It'd be nice for them to make a big signing. I think they should try to take a chance on either an up and coming French player or a French player that's been around. So like, pick up, I don't know, a guy like Masuda, I guess, or like,
Oh God, Masuda.
Jax is floating around, I guess, on a team. Like, yeah, I think you had mentioned like, oh, like Amanek is back playing, like, picking up like a guy like Amanek or something like that. There's so many like French players around the scene, but we just don't hear about them like a whole lot because I think they're kind of in the depths of like tier 2.5, tier 3. Um, so yeah, we'll have to see kind of how they progress moving forward. But yeah, just kind of a 3D Max kind of run.
They they could pick up Dan Madsclair.
Oh, there you go. So
Yeah, I'm sure he's floating around, right? Um,
yeah, for sure.
or
For 3
or
million.
or they could do what Furia did and go find a random Kazakhstani and Opper and add a random international player.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Like, I mean,
Perfect idea.
I am all for teams sticking national, but like, I mean, look at Furia. I mean, they made a playoff run in a major when they pretty much had nothing going for them, and went and grabbed Yakinder and Molodoy and got themselves. It should have been the semifinals, but they got themselves into the quarterfinals. Like, that's a pretty good run right there. Like you said, something. I'm not saying something's got to change for 3D Max, but like they're kind of like heroic, where they just kind of stick around long enough where they've got the points, but they don't ever show us any flair. They don't show us any hype. They just bleh.
I think also in a sense it's a little bit weird with this comparison, but I think in a sense that like they're very comparable to Mouz in the sense that they don't like I don't really see one standout player on this team. Like I think typically you'll see um like literally you'll see like Maka have a good game and then you'll see Gravity have a pop off game and then you'll see Exercise have a pop off game and then you'll see Lucky, like it's just they trade like pop off games, and I don't think they really line it up to do it in the same game. So that could be kind of hurting them. But I think they just need to find kind of consistency, or like just add somebody else. Shake it up. I know that like me mentioning like add a French player is like easy and all. But it is kind of difficult to find a good, solid, decent French player. And then you have to kind of make the decision. Okay, do I want to sign somebody like young, like a Masuda, or sign somebody old, like a Jack? So
Right.
it's kind of a decision that they have to make, and it'd be interesting to see if they make any changes. Because I don't think nobody really talks about 3D Max that often, right? So it could completely fly under the radar. They could pick somebody else up. They could we could never see them again, or we could see them in playoffs, right? So um, yeah, we'll follow them for sure.
Okay. Well, now now that we've hit the hour mark, and I feel like we've actually done good on time, right? I'm not going to spin the wheel anymore. Before I go on to like talking about the playoff teams and literally all of our pickums getting screwed, and Leadify saying that only 0.01, not zero point 0.1, but 0.01 of people that they were able to survey were able to get a diamond coin. Um, literally all of our coins got screwed unless you believed in Vitality, which you should have, right? In Vitality we trust. But I want to get a quick hot take on the changes for the future majors, or at least the next major, and the fact that we're getting rid of open qualifiers essentially. We are just sticking to VRS, and now Valve wants to just do VRS only. Are you okay with this idea because of like maybe some of the issues we've had in the past with Oni Pixel and now Bestia? Like, are you for, against this? Are you neutral? Like, where's your feelings now that you've had time to let it settle in?
I don't know actually. I think I'm pretty like in the middle about it right now. Like the idea of having an open circuit. I think it's really nice. I think it's really nice to reel players. Like it's a good way to reel players in. It was always really great to like have like open qualifiers and have you able to kind of participate. And honestly, these like RMRs that took place this year were really exciting to watch. And you got a lot of like interesting storylines and teams that that prove themselves. Um, I think it's going to make it a lot weirder because it kind of forces bad teams to make like really strong runs in certain events to have enough kind of VRS points to get invites to get whatever. Like I think there will be a lot of weight kind of on that. However, I still have the mindset of I think it's a change that will um like even itself out with time. But I think since it's such a big change for us as a community right now, I think that's why a lot of people are making a big deal about it. And a lot of people are speaking up about it. But yeah, like that's kind of my thoughts. So it's just like it's really important to like showcase like what teams are kind of around and the talent that's around like around the scene at the time the RMRs are. But at the same time, if they kind of part ways with it, I kind of have hope and optimism that it'll eventually kind of balance out in the VRS and it'll make a lot more sense than people think it will.
I mean, I gotta say, some the VRS at first was like really had a lot of not tension, but had a lot of like kickback. The fact that we're moving away from world rankings and we're going to VRS, and it's basically like playing Premier. Like, hey, I'm gonna get plus points or minus points, and we've kind of accepted it at this point, right? And it's not a bad system, but I can't remember if it was you that told me this or somebody said it on a broadcast, but like they're making a good point. Like, what's to stop somebody who has money from putting on a lot of regional tournaments that are getting invited and having VRS points, and you could literally just put two, three, four, five teams from your region, North America, South America, Asian region, and you could basically stack the next major, just because you were able to afford to put on a bunch of tournaments. Um, and that's one way that somebody could fake the system. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. You might get some of it back, but like that's an easy way to just fake the system and essentially get these random teams in. That's the only way we can do it now, is if you just put on a lot of local, like 10, 15, 20, $30,000 tournaments, and you could get anybody in you wanted to by just essentially just you know putting out a bunch of tournaments. But I don't know if anyone's going to do it, but like it is a thought.
No, it definitely is, yeah, and I think I have heard like some rumblings around that, like that it could be kind of abused or it could be um maybe not like abused, but just like not fair for like certain regions. Like maybe tournament organizers aren't intentionally trying to abuse it, but maybe more people have more money in the US, so they put more events on in the US than they do in like Mongolia or China or something like that. So I definitely see kind of that angle of it. So hopefully like Valve isn't too kind of stupid on that on in that sense. Um I did see a lot of pro players kind of pushing back on the idea of removing like RMRs, just like kind of having the same talking points, just the fact that like it does kind of prove your worth. It shows you, you know, what teams are good, what teams are strong, what teams are weak. You know, kind of around the team. It's really good for like I'm sure it's really good for people like scouting for players as well. To kind of take a look at the extra sample size, you know, when it matters the most. So I don't know. I don't love it, but like I said, I'm kind of hoping that it's gonna balance out and like everything will be fine. Like it's okay, everything's fine. But yeah, we'll have to see because like think also people absolutely hated the VRS system when it first came out, and now people are starting to kind of warm up to the VRS like system like how it is now. So we'll kind of see, you know, maybe in 6 months or in 12 months if, you know, people have the same feeling about it. And also like um this isn't to say that this is going to be like a permanent thing too. Like maybe Valve tries it out and sees that it very clearly doesn't work, or sees that it makes the quality of play less exciting, or you know brings in less money, and they make the change and they reverse it, right? So it's definitely it definitely can be used as like a trial and error kind of system just to see kind of how it works, but yeah, it should be interesting to see how it impacts the scene.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. So, again, I just want to get your hot take for a couple minutes there on that one. But you know, we'll have to see when Budapest rolls around. We might get an exciting one. We might not get an exciting one. We'll have to see about that. But you know, down to the nitty gritty and you know the meat and potatoes portion of this episode, and that's you know our playoffs. That you know, again, if you didn't believe in Vitality winning, you probably didn't even get yourself a gold because nothing in the playoffs went the way it was supposed to go. Now, I'm not saying that Mongolz beating FaZe wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not saying that Mouse beating Spirit wasn't supposed to happen, but clearly we all thought Furia was going to be Pain, and we were kind of pulling for that one as well. But you know, it, most people probably didn't predict you know a lot of these things happening. But ultimately, like you know, it I don't know. I don't even know where to start with this whole thing. We did already kind of talk about Mouse Spirit. Again, Mongol's phase, you know, the crowd was pulling for them obviously, and you know, it really sucked because you know Kerrigan was really trying to pull for his team and was trying to like get that one going. But I mean, the Mongols really were just a better team. Like when I was watching that match, you know, in the crowd, I was like, they really were the better team. And Anubis, it looked like they had a chance to come back, but ultimately, you know, it was just down to the Mongols. But Pain Furia, like, I mean, are you surprised even though they had a Molotov and Yekender, like, or was that something where like, you know, maybe Pain was just ready for their regional rival?
No, I'm surprised. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Fury kind of threw. Um, like I don't know if it was the fact that like if they threw a lead or if they just like threw in the sense like it was winnable the whole time. Definitely was winnable the whole time. I think a lot of people had kind of Furia going through, just because I mean, like with the 3-0, it's kind of interesting and honestly rare. I would like to go back. I might go back and find
It
this
was
funny stat.
Inferno. It was Inferno.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
up 6-0, technically 7-1 at one point, and then they let them come back to have 5, and then basically after the pistol round, Pain won 7 in a row. Like, I mean, Fury had to fight just to get to overtime. But yeah, they basically threw. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's disappointing for sure. I think it's really rare now that I'm looking at it actually, and I might look back on it, or I might look back at past majors and see if it happened. But I think it's pretty rare to see both 3-0 teams in the group stage go out in the quarters. Um, like it's just kind of an observation I made with, you know, Spirit losing and also Furia, because Furia also I guess actually um if we frame Spirit like this, we have to frame Furia like this. Like Furia is also in the same boat of oh, or did they play stage two? They did play stage two, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they did play stage two. Okay, so I mean their run was pretty good, I would say. Like they beat all the teams that they should, you know, in stage two, and honestly that it's funny to me seeing how they went 3-0 in stage three, but then didn't go 3-0 in stage two. Like it's like you beat the harder teams, but you lost to the easier
Easier.
teams.
Yeah.
Um, But I don't know. Like this Furia kind of showed promise. Um, I think Yakinder was looking kind of fresh. Molodoi was looking very good for being a rookie. And then Caserado, Yuri were on it like as kind of as always, and then Fallen was as well. So it is unfortunate that it kind of ended the way it did. Like you said, just like losing a streak of rounds against Pain. Just kind of sucks. Like it's simply put, it just sucks for them. Like they easily could have made semifinals, and I'd argue that if they made semifinals, they could have even made like a Mongols game kind of competitive. So yeah, it kind of sucks to see them go, but we'll have to see how the future of this roster evolves because, like I alluded to before, it'll be interesting to see how or if this is like because I don't know if this is what Furia actually were going for, or I don't know if this was the only options Furia had going into the major. So I don't know if they're interested in making changes. I don't know if quarterfinals is enough for them to prolong this roster. Like I have no idea. So I'm looking forward to the future of this Furia roster and seeing if this whole Yakinder thing can work. See if this whole Brazilian speaking English thing works. Seeing if they can bring the Kazakhstanian carry to another continent.
I mean, here's the thing, like, Yuri Caserado, they're still performing, like they still have output, right? And it's just my thing is how much longer can we stick with this fallen project? I like the Molodoi Yakinder thing. Like they obviously proved their worth and carried Furia probably further than they would have if they just had Cello and Skulls, right? So obviously the Fury organization are just looking to shake things up. It's like, all right, whatever we're doing isn't working, which is why, like I was saying, maybe what was it, 3D Max or somebody else could like go find like, shake things up as well. Like I'm not saying that you're not, a national team by grabbing some international players, but I mean, if nothing else, you have a case to be made by looking at Furia. 2 months before the major happened, they make these changes. They're like, all right, we want to win, and I guess FaZe picked up on that too and tried to do the same thing and it didn't work out. But it's not the worst thing in the world if you grab one or two players, right? Like the whole thing is you got to keep your core together. And so that gives you the freedom to make one or two changes. And some teams it works out and some teams it doesn't. But I agree with you. I am actually kind of curious to see how Furia do in the next season. Because like this is the team I kind of want to keep my eye on. I've always been a fan of Yakinder. When he came over to Liquid, I was blown away. I was like, this is freaking awesome. Like, all right, we got a fragger, we got a rifler. He's gonna be aggressive. He's gonna go create space, just like he did over at VP. And then he kind of flopped and lost his confidence. But I think Furia gave him a home, and it's like, hey, bro, like you're good. Just go have fun. And I think he's having fun again. Um, and that's why I think we need to keep an eye on Furia some more. Like, it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on Furia.
Yeah, so well, I don't know. We'll have to see as well. I don't know what else to say, but just the fact, yeah, that I don't know if they're gonna make changes. I don't know if they aren't. I like in my personal opinion, if it was me, if I owned the team, if I didn't have if I had plans before the major to make changes, then okay, make the changes.
Right.
But if you have no plans after the major, then just let it ride out and see what happens because this is not very clearly this is not worse than the old iteration of Furia. Like they made it deeper. It might have been like a honeymoon kind of run. We don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows, right? So I would give them kind of more time, give them more events to participate in, and kind of see how that goes. However, with that being said, you also don't want to miss the bus of signing new players, um, like like on this kind of off, like this part of the off season. So
Right.
um, yeah, so kind of keep an eye on them, kind of look, and it's nice to see Furia back because I think for a while there they were kind of falling out of relevance just because they haven't had a lot of success. We kind of looked towards like other Brazilian kind of powerhouses like Pain, MIBR, like Legacy, right? So it's nice to see them kind of back up on the scene, and they got cool stickers too. So
Yeah, they got cool stickers. So, right now they're ranked ninth in the world. So I'm excited about that. So again, props to Furia. I kind of want to see them just stick together. I mean, they're ranked higher than G2 right now, so yay. Yeah, so but with that being said, now moving on to the next stage, we've kind of, again, we've already been kind of hitting on some of this, but I mean, Mongols, Pain, Mouse and Vitality, um, at any point in time, like honestly, at any point in time, were you scared that Vitality weren't gonna win? Like all
I
the
was
whole
not
thing.
scared. I was actually not scared. And like I'm not even joking. So actually like funny story. So when I was watching the Mouz game, or no, actually, sorry, I guess it was the grand final. So grand final, I got a message from like a buddy in our server, Mumpler, and he said like, hey, like he's like, hey, Antho, like, are you scared? And I said like, honestly, like I'm not scared because um like this is gonna turn into a vitality conversation, which is gonna suck, but this is like I'm confident in their kind of ability to win best of threes and Apex ability to kind of grab a hold of series. And they proved that. And I think they proved it really, really well in the Mouse game because that was another kind of spot. Like they got absolutely dumpstered on Inferno, right? Like crazy loss. Like there's no way you can expect that, right? Like they win a dominant Mirage win on Mouse's pick. You're going into Vitality's pick on Inferno, a map that they've proven themselves to be great on. Everything should be good. Everything should be fine. They lost footing in it, and I think that was like a turning point for me. But I was also looking at like wins on train and just like I know, and I'm getting used to kind of this, and I don't want to speak too soon because I know it's going to come, crashing down eventually. But I know kind of how resilient Vitality is, and that it was a good example. And I really, really like the interview that Apex conducted after this match when they were like, okay, well, like, what was your feeling on Inferno? Like, what, like, how did you feel about that? And he more or less said, oh, like when it was like 12 to whatever, I told the guys to just, forget about
Forget
it. Like
about
we
it.
started
Yep.
talking about the other map, like, and stuff like that. Like and that's, it sounds easy to do, but it's not. Like even think about that. Like when you're playing like Premiere, you're playing like comp, like you're so kind of zoned into that one game, like emotionally, that if you're having bad luck, you don't, maybe don't even want to think about the next game. You just want to think about, how like shit on you're getting essentially, right? So it's very difficult to kind of do that. So I I was getting a little bit used to it. I guess like that would have been the most scared I was.
Right.
Um, I think the writing, like me personally, I think the writing was on the walls for the Mongol series. Um, just because of like the inexperience. Plus, like I have this idea in my head. And I don't know if this is the right way you're supposed to look at it, but this is the way that I look at it. The way that I look at it is if Mongols like or like I'm gonna use the Mongol series as an example. So Mongols picking a Mirage, they win on Mirage. They're
Right.
supposed to do that. They
Right.
picked the map. They're supposed to do that. Like that's nothing different. Next map, Vitality's supposed to win. Like that's just how it works. Like so Vitality winning Mirage is actually a gift because, it's you're not supposed to do that. And that's I guess what happened in the Mouse series, right? Like they won Mouse's pick. And I was pretty confident going into Inferno. I'm like, okay, well, it's Vitality's pick, it's fine. But then stuff happens like that, right? So um, that's kind of why I was never really scared because when Vitality lose especially when they lose a map pick against or like if they lose an opponent's map pick, I know
Right.
that they can kind of ignore it and kind of get past it. So to answer your question in full detail, I was not really that scared for Vitality through the playoffs or through
Okay.
the event.
Okay, I'll give you that. And this was definitely a this was definitely a tournament that Apex wanted to win, and I sent you the screenshot because I'm like, dude, like it's crazy when you look at everything from the whole perspective, and it's like the highest rated player was your IGL. He's clearly wanting to win. Like that's, I mean, and the Mongols aren't an easy team to beat. That's what's funny is like they're not an easy team to beat because like they're just so good. Like in my opinion, outside of Vitality, like, and honestly, not even Vitality, Apex. Like, Apex is probably one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? He's one of the most, like, the strongest mental players that I think are out there, because you have not only millions of people that are watching you on every streaming platform possible, but you've also got 10, 12,000 people that are rooting against you, and you still somehow top rated the server and pulled your team over the edge. He didn't top frag, but he had a 1.37 rating in the whole freaking thing. And I'm like, dude, like, the Mongols whole team is mentally tough, okay? But like, the fact that, like you said, Apex was able to carry his team over and basically like erase all that and know that you're so close to lifting that trophy. It's like, how do you not let the nerves get to you? But it's like, he's been there before. He knows what it's like. He's, dude, I just looked up Apex. Dude, the dude is 32 years old. He's been playing professionally since 2009. Like, he's almost at 15 years behind the computer, dude. And I'm like, that is ridiculous. Like, the dude plays all the time, but he should be able to captain his team to the end. He should be able to get his team over the edge. It's like, maybe in like hockey or something, or in football, where it's like, dude, you know, just we have a whole second half to play. We have a whole another period to play. Just tell them, hey, forget about everything. Dude, that is not something easy to do. Like me being a golfer that was trying to go professional, like, it is a very hard to let holes that you had bad scores on go, because all you're doing is thinking about, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Like, I think right now we're looking at probably one of the, like, best IGLs of all time in this game. Like, and we can make arguments for all other IGLs, but I think Apex is turning into probably the IGL goat of our game until somebody else better comes along.
I think so, yeah. I think what really kind of ties the conversation in a bow also is, like, I guess you could make an argument that like maybe a Kerrigan's better, but Kerrigan was not an entry 10 years ago. And Kerrigan did not make a change from being entry to being IGL. Like that is, I mean, they always paint that up like on broadcast, but that's so like under people's radar. Just the fact that he was the guy going in, running in, like basically like donk if he didn't like have the aim that he has, right? Like it's just like running in first, like dying, whatever, right? So like the fact that he went from that to like being able to sit back, like plan the game out in your head, like the amount of like gamble stacks that he ends up doing that work out. Like I don't even know half the time. I don't even know if I can call them gamble stacks anymore, because maybe it's like literally just preparation. Like I don't know. Like it's just crazy to kind of see like the evolution of him as a player. Like since like 10 years, 15 years ago, you'd mentioned like whatever 2009, 15 years ago, yuck. But
Yeah. It's crazy. How old were you in March 15th of '09?
I was 5 years old.
You were 5 years
There you
old when
go.
Apex started playing, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and like he's come a long way, and like honestly, he's won like this is also something not talked about a lot. He's won like three Counter Strike majors in like three different eras, or
Yeah,
like
he's
three
won.
different eras of Counter Strike.
Yeah.
Like he won like early Go, and then like late Go, and then early CS2.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to kind of like see that. And like this isn't even, I wouldn't say, like aside from like somebody coming in and looking at this Vitality roster at face value, like you see like Robson's Zybo on a team, like automatically you're gonna think that it's a good team, right? But this isn't even like a team that you would expect. Like 5 years ago, if I showed you this team and said, "Hey, this is gonna be the best team in the world. They're gonna go on a win streak," like you'd laugh at me, because you'd be like, "Okay, what is like a British player doing, like some unknown British player doing, and this Israeli guy that we've never heard about." They kind of like scraped the bottom of the pot, and then it ended up working. So I don't like, I could glaze Vitality for a whole episode. I'm not gonna lie. I could go on and on just about how good they all are, like how good like Rops is. Like obviously Rops, um
Yeah, a
coming into this.
Lithuanian,
Yeah, or no, Estonian. He's from
Estonian. My bad. Yeah,
Estonia. Yeah, there you
like
go.
you
So
grab an Estonian, an Israeli, a Brit, and two Frenchmen, and put them on a team, and say they're going to be the best team, in Counter Strike, and you're going to be like, who are they? Like, yeah, you know who Rops is, but like Mezzi and Flames aren't like high flying players, but they make so much impact on this team, dude.
oh, so much, yeah, right. And that's like it's always like they don't have to perform, but they always do when they need to. And I think that's like the really important kind of thing for Vitality. And I think that's what the formula for Vitality is just like they have. And people say this time and time again, but the depth they have truly is like insane. Like just the fact that like Zaiwu doesn't have to like I'm looking at the stats. Like had the least kills in this grand final,
Yeah,
right?
like
And they still
it's
like pulled it through, right? So
yeah,
it's like Saiwu had the least like frags, and then who was next? Robs, right? So like it was actually Apex, Mezgi, and Flames to get the more frags. I mean, like statistically, like they ended up doing better, but
yeah,
it's just like
Mezzi
the
top
insane
fragged.
depth that they have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you wouldn't expect it to happen, but like hey, it happened. So I I'm interested to see how they can keep it going because actually, okay, no, I do want to ask you this question because this is the golden question that everybody's asking, and I want your opinion on it. Okay,
Okay.
here it is. Is this a Vitality era, or is this not a Vitality era yet?
So that the to answer that question, it's like what is everybody's definition of the word era? Okay. Now it's not that I don't want to answer that question. It's just what are people's definition of era? Is it a win streak? Is it winning back to back majors? Is it being team of the year? Because again, is it winning a grand slam? Because I can answer yes to most of those questions. And if you ask me if they're going to be back to back major winners, I could also answer yes to that question because I feel like they could do it. Have they gone on a win streak? Have they won a grand slam? Have they, just done everything and broken records? And, could they be team of the year? Yeah, all these things could be true. But again, this has all been done in such a short period of time. It's literally just season one of 2025. And well, last year, Vitality weren't even in the conversation for these things because they had Spinks. And so we were looking at teams like Navi. We're like, crap, you won the major. Then we're looking at teams like Spirit, like, crap, you have Donk. And we're looking at, other teams out there. Falcons were starting to make moves and Liquid was making moves and Mongolz were starting to win stuff. And it's like Vitality were barely in the conversation. And now Vitality the only team that we can talk about. So I could answer yes and no to that question because I feel like it hasn't been long enough. But I feel like because they've done so much in such a short period of time that it's hard to say no, but it's can also be hard to say yes. So if you want me to answer that question, that is this the Vitality era? Yes, because they did so much in such a short period of time where other teams it took them they did the same thing but over a 12, 18, 24 month period where Vitality have done it in less than 6 months.
They had the best season. Some would say they had the greatest season, actually.
So
No,
like that's where I'm at. Like, I mean, yeah, we want to see what they do in season two, but I mean, I would put all my chips in the table to say that they win more trophies, they win Cologne, they take this momentum, and they can win the major. Like, I would put all my chips in the middle because also they have the freedom to not have to go to every single tournament. And that's another thing because I was talking to either my roommate or I was talking to Brittany about it, but like, no, it was my roommate on the way back from the major. He's like, man, Vitality have won every single trophy. And I'm like, technically they've won every trophy that they've attended, right? They didn't go to the PGL events, which Mouse won one of them and Spirit won the other one, but they're allowing themselves not to have to go to all these tournaments, which is giving them time to rest. And so we're hopefully not getting players that are burnt out, which is giving them the freedom to be able to do what they're doing.
yeah. And I think also it's really good to be in this position because if you're in a good position VRS points wise, you can choose to just not go to these events. I mean, like as an organization, you're going to want your teams to go, but like say they get into a period of time where they're absolutely like totally burnt out or something like that. They like need a break. Like they can, speak up to the organization and say, hey, like can we skip this, one event, give us a break, whatever, and they can afford to do that, right? Like they have, they won't fall from grace from VRS points, and they won't like lose a lot of like it'll just be kind of a reset for them. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking at VRS,
vitality.
like looking at VRS points, just for kicks and giggles, they have 200 points over Mouz right now. Like literally everybody that's second, third, fourth, fifth, like between Mouz and Falcons, it's about 150 point difference. So there's more points separating Vitality from their second place opponent than there is between second and fifth. Yeah, they could probably skip the next several events if they wanted to. They're not going to, but they could, because you gain. I mean, how many points if Vitality played? Uh, does it still show how many points they gained or lost from playing a team? If it shows us the past, does it show that? Um, I know it shows us ahead of time.
Yeah, at
Like,
the very bottom, in between the
okay,
match
yeah.
history and the
So
comments.
yeah, so if you look at this, like how much Mongols would lose or how much Vitality, dude, Vitality winning gave them 1 point because they're
Oh no,
playing one
they're
of the best teams in the world, right? So like everybody else is going to gain 10, 15, 20 points here and there, but like imagine trying to make up a 200 point difference, bro. That is massive. They could probably not even play for the whole next season and just go to the major and probably still be able to be in first. So yeah,
yeah.
they've got plenty of a buffer, dude.
I will say, circling back to the era conversation, I think like we're literally in the exact same boat because like I'm the same way, right? Like I think it does depend on the definition of an era, and I can concede the fact that it literally hasn't been that long. Um, and I don't think it's fair, like for example, to compare this with like the Astralis era because I think that's like something completely different. Like they did it, um, like Astralis basically did what Vitality did now, but like across a long period of time. And like you basically like highlight that to perfection, right? Like they accomplished so much and so little that it seems like that's kind of how it is. Um, but I don't think it's fair saying like, oh, this is like the best era ever, like or anything like that. I don't think you can discredit like what Astralis did and how much they kind of like shaped the meta like around that. But you can also like kind of see like Vitality like slowly kind of like shaping their own kind of meta, right? So
Yeah.
it it is definitely like a debate, and it does kind of come down to like the definition of an era. Like what is it? Like is it a certain length of time? Is it a certain amount of wins? Is it whatever, right? So
I mean,
yeah,
because
I think yeah.
you also have like the era, not just of. I mean, we always go back to the Astralis era, but like some people almost forget about the Nip era. I mean, they had what 61 games in a row or 61 series in a row. They won like the first two or three majors. I mean, like we almost kind of forget about that. And then what we have, I think the Cloud 9 era maybe or something like. How many eras really were there? Or the Liquid era? I mean, like there I mean, it's really hard to even say how many eras there were because the only era we ever talk about is the Astralis era. And I mean, that'd be a fun conversation to have. But I mean, again, we could probably have that conversation at the end of the year when the next player break comes around. But again, we'll just have to get there when we get there. But yeah, I mean, again, the answer could be yes or no.
Yeah. So
So, but do you have any last words, any last random stats, anything you want to talk about? I got one, but I want to see if you got anything right now.
I don't think I got really that much right now. Um, I don't know. Closing statement. I mean, I guess we didn't like the two other teams that I just want to like shout out that I guess we didn't give a lot of credit is like Payne and Navi making finals. I know Navi's kind of like a dead team walking now. I think Alexi B said in an interview that there's probably gonna be changes, and I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that there is gonna be changes. They've been on a downward kind of spiral. The Pain situation is different because like literally they haven't had time to play with each other. Like the last two events that they had like their coach stand in for them before the major. So even getting to a major semifinal is definitely commendable for a team like Payne because they, picked up these new players, Davideos and um the DGT, yeah. So the Uruguayan and the Chilean player. So yeah, just shout out to kind of them making it through. Um, but yeah, that's all I have. I don't have any crazy stat. I can try to cook one up, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, so my one little thing is so there was a, and I don't know how long it's going to be limited for, but Steel Series came out with a which I found out about this cuz oh, Glow, he sent it to me and I was like, "Oh, that is a really awesome mouse." But the Steel Series came out with a limited edition Dragon Lore mouse and mouse pad. And apparently they did one of these like 5 years ago, and they dropped the Hyper Beast mouse series, but it was wired, right? Before wireless mouse are really popular. And I was looking, I was like, oh, that's a cool looking mouse. But then they dropped the D-Lore one, and I was like, I showed my roommate, and I was like, as a joke, and I was like, this could be a great belated birthday present, and I wasn't gonna ask him. I wasn't even remotely looking at it. Well, we saw it at the major. They were giving one or two of them away, and I think I even saw Pimp giving one away and things like that. So like people had them to give away, right? And then apparently he bought a couple of them, one for himself and one for me, and I didn't know he bought me one. And I come home from work at 1 o'clock in the morning this morning, and it's sitting on my desk, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I opened the box, and because it wasn't sealed or anything, it was just, you just open it up like a Christmas present, and like a shoebox almost. And I was like, oh my god, this thing is like, it was literally like, it was glowing. It's all gold and the red, dragon and everything on there. And I was like, I was like, is this for me? He's like, oh yeah, and we talked about it, and I couldn't help myself, but I went ahead and played a random comp match. And dude, it felt so good. Like it's usable, but it's like everything in me doesn't want to play with it, but I actually played with it, and I was like, dude, this mouse feels amazing, and I'm like, I can't wait to hop in again and try it out some more. But like the extra 3 grams that it weighs more than my current Steel Series Aerox 3 wireless, like it made a huge difference. And like, I don't know why, but I was able to control my spray. I was able to aim. Everything that I wanted to do, I did. And I'm like, so I am currently the owner of a limited edition D-Lore wireless Steel Series mouse.
There you go. And from that, we can conclude that skins do indeed equal wins.
Skins do equal wins, and I can say now that I own a D-Lore.
There you
I don't,
go.
I
Yeah,
don't, I don't have to say what it is, but I own a D-Lore.
this is true. I mean, hey.
You don't look. If you assume it's the op, then that's on you. I'm not lying.
Yeah, I mean, you speak only the truth.
I only
I,
speak the
I would
truth.
like to. I would like to say a couple things. So one thing, I did see, um, the major hit there's two things. So I saw. I don't think it was CBS, but there was an Austin news outlet
Uh huh.
on YouTube that covered like Counter Strike, so that's cool. We got news coverage of Counter Strike, and then also the BBC did a interview with Mezzi actually, and that got published to the official YouTube page of like BBC Radio, just talking about Mezzi being the first a British player to hoist the major trophy. So I think that's really fun and cool to see kind of esports being like they're like being shown in the kind of real world, right?
That's awesome. Seriously, like that's awesome. And ES charts, like I just happened to click something during the MIBR Falcons match was the most messages per minute on, I think, Twitch it was. But the Mongolz vitality was barely third. It was like 11,362 messages per minute, which is a lot. Holy
Oh
crap.
wow,
That's
that's a
11,000
lot.
messages per minute. That is crazy. Um, and the most active chats, Oni Pixel had 111,000 chatters. Jesus.
Jeez, that's a lot.
That is crazy. But like it was cool. It was cool having Oni there, and he was. I could like if I looked up where he was sitting at, you could see him turn around and wave at the crowd. Like it was kind of cool to actually see him there. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was a good setup, and I think it was really cool to have like all the streamers kind of around. Saw a lot of interviews you did with like a mix of pro players, mix of like YouTubers, streamers, like coaches. I think he had like Darth Mike on with him, like stuff like that. So
All right.
it was a really good setup, like you said. I think it was like a good setup for him, good setup for you guys to see him, and I hope they do that like at future majors and stuff. It'd be really cool.
So there you go. There's the last little stat right there of hours watched to total airtime. And the air times are about the same, but look at the numbers of people that watch. Like clearly America loves majors. That is
Yeah.
crazy. But it so the Blast Austin Major beat the previous record of Stockholm by 5 million hours.
Jeez.
Like Stockholm had
I'm
71
surprised.
million and Austin had 76 million.
I'm surprised that. Oh, I guess never mind. I'm just being stupid.
What?
I don't. No, I don't want to even say because that was the dumbest thing. Let's just say for about 30 seconds, I thought London was in the United States of America. We'll just leave it at that.
I needed that. Thank you. I'm I'm not trying to laugh at you, but like I needed that laugh. Let's put it this way.
I was gonna say, what the heck, bro? Like, why is London on here? I was surprised that Boston isn't what doesn't have more views. Aren't they both in the States? And I'm like, never mind.
But still, like I'm surprised like, Paris isn't up there cuz like it's Austin then Stockholm then Rio then Antwerp then London. Like London was freaking 7 years ago and you're telling me that that's the fifth most watched major. That's crazy.
Rio's interesting to me. Stockholm makes sense because that's first major back
Yeah, that's true.
from
Yeah,
like
from
COVID.
COVID. Yeah.
Antwerp kind of makes sense because it was the rise of Phase and then second major back. And then like the only thing that surprises me is this Rio major. Like just the fact that I didn't think it was really that popular of a major. Like I alluded before about the fact that once Furia got eliminated from Rio, it was pretty quiet, but I guess not quiet on the hours watched.
Yeah, I mean that's but like that's over all like platforms of like that's just crazy that it broke the record like so much and I'm just like what I'm really curious to see is like okay, so it's not showing Copenhagen in the top 5, it's not showing Shanghai. Like okay, so now that I look at the numbers watch, it's like okay, is it because of the teams that are in it? Is it because of where it's located at? Or what's the case right now, right? And so is that going to make Valve not allow teams to go to certain countries or certain parts of the world? Or are we going to come back? Like now that we did this, can we come back to America again? Like that would be a fun little conversation to have because it's like okay, clearly we like our Counter Strike. Can we now have the major? We just proved it. Like, what else do you want? We bought the tickets at a stupidly ridiculous price. We watched it way more than any other major by leaps and bounds. Like, all right, can we come back to America? And I don't know. Maybe that's a great argument to have.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
the Sentinels are looking to put another uh looking to put a team in Counter Strike. So sweet.
sweet.
So well, with that being said, I think that'll wrap up this. And the next episode, hopefully, when we come back, we'll talk about Roster Mania. But for now, that we have gone over by our normal number. But if you're still here with us, thanks for hanging out. It's been a pleasure. I'm your host, Ic3-Man and Anthobot, and this is StrafeTalk. And for everybody listening to us around the world, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see y'all next time here on StrafeTalk. Y'all take care.
Enjoy the break.